Hey guys, it's Nadine from Sachiko Studio. Are you a photographer looking for more information on the Front Steps photo project? Well, you've come to the right place. Let's get started. $1,900. Did I get your attention? That's the amount of money that I raised through my own Front Steps photo fundraiser for a local charity called Foothill Unity, which is a food bank just down the street from my studio. This experience doing the Front Steps project was so fulfilling and so fun and so refreshing that I wanted to make sure that you guys knew all about it so you too can fundraise for your own charities. So let's get started. Number one, you have to know where the concept of the Front Step project even came about. And so the concept is basically somebody donates to a charity of your choice, and in exchange for a certain amount of donation, the person gets a free 5-minute photo session from you and one photo. The photo session is taken at the person's home on their front steps from 10 feet away. That is those are all the characteristics of a Front Steps photo session. Who came up with them? Not me. I was inspired by the queen and founder of the Front Steps photo project, who is Cara, and she is a professional photographer in Needham, Massachusetts, and she's now raised over $23,000 through her Front Steps project. And she has been featured on Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and countless other media outlets. So don't get it twisted. I did not come up with this idea. I was inspired by and made sure that I always credited Cara for being the founder of the Front Steps project. If you go on Instagram, her hashtag is the Front Steps project. And so I always credit her whenever I'm talking about my own Front Steps project, which the hashtag is the Front Steps project SGB. And so number one, create a hashtag for your own campaign and just make it a short, easy one. I don't know why. Mine is like crazy long and it always takes forever to type out, but it'd be great if you remember your roots, and you need to. So just remember that. And also remember that this is a charity fundraiser. This is not something to make money. However, there are opportunities within this campaign to make money for you, but this is not the main goal of this kind of campaign. It is to raise money for a nonprofit. So let's walk through the steps on how I set up my Front Steps project. Number one, know your roots, check, we did that. Number two, find a cause. And it's like really difficult, and that was one of the most difficult things in my campaign, was coming down and figuring out okay, how many charities do I know, who do I want? And the first ones that come to mind are like breast cancer awareness, or help the nurses at the local hospital, or there are so many, like the Red Cross. But think about your tiny community, your city. Is there a nonprofit, like a tiny one down the street that maybe you didn't always know was there, who is truly struggling? All nonprofits, all the charities, they need money. But sometimes it's those little guys who just don't get the exposure that like the Red Cross or hospital organizations get. And so really dig deep into walking around the community, asking people, and finding a truly meaningful charity to you to fundraise for. Alternatively, for my campaign, it was such a huge hit that I did the first month, I did a certain charity down the street, the food bank, Foothill Unity, and it was such a big hit that I ended that campaign. I reached my goal, and I created another campaign, which was to encourage people to shop at small businesses. So I created a list of 10 small businesses in my area for people to shop at. And as long as they spent $50 or more, then they would get their Front Step session. So that's an alternative way to create awareness and just give back to the community. So be creative in choosing the cause and just make sure it means something to you. Number three, if you are fundraising for a nonprofit charity, do it through GoFundMe. So you can set up your own GoFundMe and create it from a desktop computer, and then GoFundMe will actually give you an option to link it with a nonprofit, because they have a database of all the nonprofits, and it is linked specifically to their PayPal giving account, which is like the nonprofit's PayPal giving account. So make sure you set up your GoFundMe page through a desktop computer, and you'll be able to get all those options. So just don't create a campaign where you are the recipient, and make sure you create a campaign where the nonprofit is the recipient, and it just gives you more clout and more legitimacy. GoFundMe will take a cut of the money, and so I think my $1,900 that I did fundraise, GoFundMe took 18, well, the net that my fundraiser gave to the charity was only $1,833. So of the $1,900, they took like what, 70 some odd dollars in fees. So just a heads up on that, that just because you raise the money doesn't mean that they're going to get 100% of it. Number 4, create a sign-up document for your project. So I suggest using Google Forms. And so if you go into Google Docs, create new, and you can select Google Form, and it'll be like a questionnaire that you can link people to fill out. And through this questionnaire, you can get lots of information about scheduling and their names. And so I'll kind of tell you some of the fields that I ask people, which is like their email address, their name, the names of who's going to be in the photo, how old the kids are, what's their address, where do they live, and what number that you can call them at when you arrive at their house. Because so many people, I arrive at their house and I'm like, okay, they're not even outside. And also about scheduling, I would offer them blocks. So I say like, oh, you know, do you want this block between 9:30 and 11? Or 4 and 5:30, what block works best for you? And so I would let them select a block, and then in a couple days, once I kind of get everybody's responses, I can kind of schedule them within like a 15-minute time frame. Like, okay, you chose the 9:30 to 11 block, I'm gonna come between 10 and 10:15. So kind of give yourself a little cushion. And I kind of divided my area up into like different days. And so I came up with 3 shooting days, and that is like all I could really handle. And so I did initially 3 shooting days, and then the demand increased. And so I waited a week and did another 3 shooting days. So I think in total, I did about 6 shooting days, plus like a couple here and there for people I knew that just couldn't get on the schedule for whatever reason. And yeah, so just be really careful about scheduling. There's going to be a lot of people that ask you out of your area if you can come to their house, and I always told people, if you can get 3 or more people from your area to sign up and donate, then I will come to you. Otherwise, it's just not worth it for me to drive like, you know, 40 minutes or something to go to an area for one house. And then what I regret doing was not charging travel fees for those people that really weren't in my area, because it's just like my time and gas, and it was a schlep to go like really far for not a lot of people. And so think about that, and like, you know, maybe like a $15 or $20 travel fee is fine, and people will pay it. So think about that. And then the other thing that I put on the forms, which is really important, is an agreement. So basically them submitting it means that they agree to your terms. And so your terms should have like, okay, this is what I'm going to give you. You're going to donate $50 to the GoFundMe. In exchange, I'm going to give you a 5-minute session. I'm going to give you 1 file. And you disclose to them, I may use your photos in social media, Instagram, Facebook, my blog. You kind of lay all that out. You'll get your photo in 3 days or however many days you want to give it back to them. So kind of laying out all the expectations there is really good. And of course, find out where they found out about you, because you know, you want to thank people who are referred and things like that. Number 5, how I promoted my campaign. If you're a photographer and you don't have an email list, shame on you. So if you don't already have an email list, find the email of every single person who's ever done a shoot with you and email them. And I totally forgot to tell you that I use Flodesk, which is an online email list organizer. And basically you put all your clients' emails on that list, and then it populates into a really pretty email template, and they have like a lot to choose from. I tried a bunch of other ones like MailChimp and such, and they were really bad because their templates looked really old. And then whenever I sent emails, it would go to my client's spam. So this one, the client
receives my email actually in their main inbox like a real person sent the email. I mean, it is a real person, but you know what I mean. So if you want to check out Flodesk, I got a code through my Flodesk, which is for 50% off. Initially, it's free to try, but eventually they will ask you to pay a license, and you get 50% off if you use my code. So check it out, guys.
So the first wave of people that signed up for my campaign were all my returning clients. So many people signed up, and then they told their friends, and then we posted on Instagram, and then their friends saw on Instagram, and then they clicked the hashtag, and then it was like we grew and grew and grew. So it's a kind of a process, but you know, to start out, email your clients, create a hashtag on Instagram, and do a session or two like for your family or like your neighbor as samples so you can promote it, because I found that the more people see like images online, then the more they're like envious and want a photo for themselves, and then they'll start donating. So you know, we see what we want and then we want it. So think about that when you're promoting. Lastly, step number 6, and this is the one that I get the most questions about and is the most controversial, heads up on that one, is can you make money doing the Front Steps project? First and foremost, it is a charity fundraiser. You should not be doing this with a mind like, oh yeah, I want to make money, I want to get rich. You are not going to get rich off of this. I'm going to tell you that right now. But that doesn't mean that you cannot charge for upgrades. So many of my clients asked me, once they saw their photos, like, hey, can I buy more? Because you only gave me one. Are there more? Can I choose more? Can I buy more files? So that kind of like came out on its own organically, as people are like, yo, I don't want one photo. These photos are gorgeous. I want 5. And so kind of talking about that, you know, in the beginning, once they book, like you can tell them like, hey, you can buy one, you know, one photo's free. If you want to buy more, it's X amount of dollars per file. I also offered an upgrade if people wanted to increase the time of their session to maybe 10 minutes and get 12 files. And so I did that. I charged like $150, and people did it. Like about half of the people did it, and it's just paying me for my time. I have a studio, I have studio rent to pay, and I told them, I go, you know, I can't even use my studio right now. All that money is just gonna go to like paying rent, because it's like I can't even pay my studio rent right now. So you know, I had good intentions. My intention was to fundraise, and that's what I did. And it's nice that some of the people wanted to upgrade and kind of asked me to do that, and so that organically kind of rolled out. And I don't have to feel guilty, and you don't have to feel guilty, because you need to get paid for your time. And if people want more of your time, then they can pay for it. If they want more files, hey, charge them for it. But just make sure you're delivering and not tricking them. You give them their 5 minutes, you give them their 1 file. Maybe during your 5-minute session, you yield like 8 files, let them choose the best one and offer if they want to like upgrade and, you know, buy a couple more, which most people do if you're a good photographer. And that wraps up my 6 steps to creating your own Front Steps photo project. Whether you raise $23,000 or $1,900, it is up to you. Just make sure your heart is in the right place, and everyone will see that, and I am sure that you will find great success in creating your own Front Steps project. Take care, guys.